My name is Amira, and I compete every day against Lupus.
This is the Everyday Competitor Podcast. Each episode features people just like you, winning in their career, workouts, and life just like you want to. All because they've chosen to compete every day. Here's your host, Compete Everyday founder, Jake Thompson.
Amira, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Great. I am excited to have you on here to get to introduce you to all the listeners, to the rest of the community. But tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in beautiful California, and what you're up to these days.
As you said, my name is Amira, and I live in Pismo Beach, California. So, beautiful Central Coast. I love living here. I work remotely for a nonprofit based in San Francisco. I work in accounting. And in my spare time, I love OCR. So anything Spartan related, I'm there. I love it. I'm a gym rat, an outdoor freak. I just love being outdoors and competing.
I love it. Okay, so how did you get involved in the first place with OCR?
Well, it came about actually a little bit by surprise, took me by surprise. I was looking at pictures, I don't know, on Instagram or Facebook, I don't know where I was, but I saw pictures of a Spartan and I was like, that is so badass. I'm doing that. And that's how the journey began for me. And I had never lifted weights in my life. I had always been a cardio person. And I walked into the gym that I train at called Headstrong Fit in San Luis Obispo. And they just took me from somebody with no upper body grip, core, back strength, and turned me into a beast. And I'm like addicted to it.
I love
And
it.
I love it. I feel like I have 3 autoimmune diseases. So like my body has kicked my ass for far too long and I wanted to kick some ass.
I love it. Okay, so on that note, that's something I want to talk about because you do have autoimmune diseases. You deal with that on a daily basis. Take me back to the beginning of stepping out of your comfort zone into that gym, and then your first race. What is kind of transitioning and training in life been like, having to deal with some of the challenges you do?
Oh, that's a good question. So it takes a lot of listening to your body, being kind to yourself, and being kind to your body. And while I always want to challenge myself and push myself to my limits, during my training, sometimes, it takes longer for us to recover. So I have a lot of connective tissue issues, a lot of arthritis. I have, on top of that, a lot of back problems. So I think it really takes listening to yourself. Um, we take longer sometimes to recover between training sessions. I have also like a plethora of food sensitivities and allergies. So it's making sure that you stay on track. Consistency is key. You want to eat right, still take your medicines and your supplements. I have so many tools that I employ now, just to stay on track and be able to do the things that I love. So I take, all kinds of vitamins. I eat a very limited diet, but I make sure that I eat enough protein, enough good fats, so that my body stays energized and recharged. And also just doing things to take care of myself when maybe I'm going through a flare up. So I could wake up one day and have a fever. Instead of just being like, oh, okay, I'm going to lay in bed the rest of the day, I listen to my body. Is it a low-grade fever? Can I get up and do something? Maybe go for a walk? If so, then that's what I do. I try not to put so much pressure on myself. I think that's my number one lesson from all of this is just really to be kind to myself and listen to my body and do what I can and have so much fun doing it.
So were you always this way? Were you always, I guess, giving yourself that much grace and mental break, or was it something you've had to teach yourself, and how did that process start?
Yeah, good question. I absolutely have not always been this way. So, good question. I had a really defining moment in my life. I went through a couple of years where I had just this flare up that just wouldn't quit. Um, and thousands of tests, a plethora of doctors, thousands of dollars. Nobody can figure out what's going on with me. They're like, oh, it's your autoimmune stuff. Like, okay, I know, but what are we going to do about it? And I remember walking down the beach one day, and I just had no will to live anymore. I didn't want to be in pain anymore. I was over it. I was like, this is not living. I can't live like this. And in that moment, I don't know what struck me, but I was like, what is going on? Like, I don't even recognize myself anymore. And my health had deteriorated so much so that it took not only my body, but my spirit. And in that moment, I said, enough is enough. I am not going out like this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my life back, to be healthy, to do the things that I love. And if I don't get there, that's fine, but I'm going to fight until the end. And when I go, I'm going to go with a smile on my face. That's it. That's all it took. A walk down the beach.
A life-changing moment. Okay, and so at that point, man, everything changed for you. And so is that when you started getting active, obviously on the cardio side, and starting to run and do that? Or what kind of did your life start to look like? Because mentally, I can tell at this point, you've made the decision, you drew the line in the sand. What did the rest of your life start to look like at that point to back that up?
Well, at that point, I had previously been an athlete, and I loved cardio, and I was a runner and all that. But at that point, I wasn't doing any of that. My body just had no strength or energy to do that. It took me a while. It took me a couple of years of finding the right nutritionist, the right plan, the right doctors, finding what worked and what didn't work for me. I was just basically a human guinea pig, just trying to mitigate, all my issues, and just trying to find what works for me, what makes me feel my best. And I think as I became healthier and healthier and happier, I started going back into cardio. I really love high impact sports. And so I started going back into cardio. And then when I found, those pictures of the Spartan that really piqued my interest, that's when I started strength training.
I love it. Okay, so tell me about that first race, that first Spartan race, first OCR you did. Were there nervous jitters? What was your thought process, mindset going into it, and how was the experience?
Nervous jitters is an understatement. I was a wreck. I was so nervous. I was like, what was I thinking? I can't do this. Sometimes I couldn't open the door to my apartment because my grip is so bad from all my arthritis issues. And I was freaked out. And then I said, you know what? Whatever. I've trained. My mind is ready. I'm just going to do it. We'll see what happens. Worst comes to worst, I'm just doing thousands of burpees. And that's cardio, and I love cardio. So who cares? Let's do it. And I did it. And crossing that finish line was so euphoric. There's just really no way to explain it other than that. I felt alive. I felt like I was living. I felt like I was my best self.
And how many of those races have you done now to date?
I've done 2, and I'm going for my beast next year, which means I'll be doing a sprint, a super, I'm going for my trifecta. So I'm doing a sprint, a super, and a beast next year.
That's awesome. Where are you? What cities are you going to knock those out?
I'm doing a sprint in Chino Hills. I'm doing another sprint in San Jose in March. I'm doing my beast in Southern California. They haven't released where yet. I hope somewhere with not so many hills, but that's just my preference. And then I'm doing my super in Sacramento.
Awesome.
So all local in California.
Okay, so anyone listening to the show here in the community watching the video, you just heard that California Spartan races. So if you're planning to go out there as well, make sure you comment on the video, tag Amira, go say hi. You guys get connected as competitors and OCR racers. This is great. Okay, so Amira, tell me something that you want other competitors in the community to know about you.
Good question. I think I want everybody to know about me is that nothing excites me and makes me feel more alive than a challenge. So if there's something you want me to do, all you have to say is, Amira, you can't do it. And I'll make it my mission to get it done, whatever it takes. I really like kind of when I'm not good at something because it means I'm about to be challenged and see what I'm really made of.
I love that. I love that. It was interesting. I just read Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is part of our book club. And he talks about challenges and things we need to make us better. And he said, you always want to have in any sort of setup, something that's just a little bit ahead of where you are because you know you're not there yet and it pushes you just enough to go. It's like when you're playing tennis, you don't want to play against like a 4-year-old because you're like, all right, I'm bored, I'm beating you. And you don't want to play against Serena Williams because she's just going to smoke you. You want to play against someone that's just a little bit better so you start getting those glimpses of, oh, I can do this, I can get better. And so obviously that sounds like what you're going after because now that you've got this OCR bug, you're going after the trifecta next year. We're going to get the medals racked up. Awesome. Love it. Okay, so one piece of advice you would give your 10-year-old self, what would that be?
I would tell my 10-year-old self to remember to be kind to myself and to love myself more. I'm someone who can be very critical of myself, and probably a lot of other people are as well. I think a lot of times when we encounter situations where we feel like we failed, we're too hard on ourselves. Being disappointed is normal, but sometimes being too hard or down on ourselves can be counterproductive. I think it's really important in those moments to be able to reflect, see what you did well, what you need to work on so that we're turning our failures into learning opportunities and we can continue to grow as individuals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Amira, close us out. I want you to finish this sentence. I compete every day.
My name is Amira and I compete every day against lupus.
Boom. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. I had a blast. My name is Amira, and I'm an everyday competitor.
Thank you for listening to the Everyday Competitor Podcast. Visit www.competeforyour.life to learn how you can get connected with other competitors, contact the show, and find free resources to help you compete every day in life.